We're going to change the world!
When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apology. This is me. This is me.
Good afternoon, young leaders. Hi, I'm Pippa Van, the Cultural Programs Manager at the US Embassy. On behalf of the Embassy, I'm so happy to welcome you all to the Women2Women Bahrain Virtual Learning Experience. Here at the US Embassy Bahrain, we are committed to promoting and to achieving equality and equity between women and men, and to recognizing and enhancing the participation and leadership roles of women in political, civil, economic, social, and cultural life. We believe that when you empower a woman, you empower her entire community. I would like to introduce you all to Rick Rendon. Rick is the founder of Empower Peace and has over 30 years of experience in the development and management of strategic communication campaigns. Rick, over to you.
Thanks, Pippa, and good morning from here in Boston, and good afternoon to everybody in Bahrain. My name is Rick Rendon. I am the founder of Empower Peace and Women2Women, and welcome to the first ever Women2Women Bahrain Virtual Learning Experience. Before we get started, I would like to say thank you to the Bahrain Ministry of Youth and Sport and to our friends at the U.S. Embassy in Bahrain for their belief and support of the Women2Women program. As you saw in the opening video, Women2Women is an international young women's leadership program. For over 15 years, we have been providing education and training and leadership skills to emerging female leaders around the world. We're proud to say that over 1,600 young women from nearly 80 countries have participated in and graduated from our Women2Women program. Originally, we had planned to conduct an in-person conference in Bahrain, but COVID-19 has made that impossible. So by thinking quickly on our feet, we have created this virtual learning experience for all of you. Having conducted nearly 20 programs, these leadership programs around the world, I would like to share a little bit of advice on how to make the most about the experience you're about to undertake. I call these Rick's recommendations, but they're basically 6 points to get the most out of the Women2Women program. Number one, realize that you were chosen from a large number of applicants to be part of this experience. So believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities, because we believe in you. Number two, make the most of this experience because you will be meeting and hearing from some remarkable presenters and role models. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to share your thoughts and ideas. Number three, make sure to network with your fellow Women2Women classmates and the presenters if possible. Build a support group. Okay, make new friends. This may serve you well going forward. Number four, take this opportunity seriously as a means to learn, to expand your horizons, to advance your future. Build your support group. And we'll be awarding a certificate that may be helpful to you in the future to further enhance your education or to give you further employment opportunities down the road. Number five, and this is really important, this will be our first virtual broadcast for Women2Women that we've ever done. So we're asking for your patience and your understanding because as we all know from watching TV, You know, this virtual technology is not a perfect science. So if we have any glitches, we ask you to forgive and bear with us, but we're gonna make the most out of this experience. And finally, number 6, this is my most favorite aspect, have fun. All right, so those are 6 recommendations from Rick here to make sure you get the most out of your virtual learning experience. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the executive director and the head of the Women2Women program, Trisha Raynard. So come on in, come on in.
Hello, everybody. It is so great to be here with all of you. I would also like to thank the U.S. Embassy and the Ministry of Youth and Sports for working with us on this program. So my expectations for this group is really high, and I'll tell you why. We released the application just over a week before the deadline. That's not a lot of time, and quite frankly, we didn't really know what to expect. But we started receiving applications almost immediately. So that's a virtual classroom that's filled with some very motivated and ambitious people. So that's really exciting for me. So we all wish that we could be there with you in person, but because that's not possible, we've developed a condensed program that will help you identify your leadership abilities, build your skills, and connect you with established women and like-minded people your age. And although we can't see you today, the sessions that follow are set up to be more interactive, and we'll have a chance to meet one another. Now, having said that, if you're not comfortable being on video, you're welcome to keep your video off at all times. We will be recording all the sessions, and we will be using some of this video footage for possible promotional initiatives, and also video on demand for those of you that couldn't make it today. But whether you have your video on or off, let's make the most of this virtual experience. Ask questions, and when we break out into groups, fully participate. Now, I know that that can be hard and challenging for some of you, but really do your best to get out of your comfort zone. And so let's just now talk about goals for Women2Women Bahrain, because we do have goals for you. And our goals is that at the end of this program, you'll have a better sense of what you're capable of, which is a lot. And you'll have developed some critical communications and negotiation skills, and you'll walk away from this experience with a renewed sense of confidence. In addition, we hope that you start to build your network. You see, women's empowerment, it first starts with you. It starts from within. But it's also important to have a network that supports you. And in this virtual classroom, you will be connected to people from at your own age from your country. But also, when you successfully complete this program, you're going to be invited to join our Women2Women International Alumni Network. Now, that network can connect you to many different opportunities. But you don't have to take my word for it. Just so happens today, we are joined by one of our incredible alums from Bahrain. So it is now my pleasure to introduce you to her. So let's bring out Kat Fatala. Welcome, Kat.
Hi, Trisha. Thank you for the introduction. This is Kat Fatala, also known as Kat. I'm a creative producer at Kohiji Production, also a Women2Women alumni. I did it back in 2015 and kept going back as an intern for 3 more years, and I still work with the team. Today, I'm super happy and proud to be part of Women2Women coming to Bahrain. I mean, Women2Women was a changing start of my life, and it truly impacted me and shaped me to who I am today and what I stand for. I've spent the best years of my life in it, and it's so special. It opens the door to so many great things and taught me valuable lessons throughout the years. And that's only just few reasons why I kept going back. It built a confidence in me to fight and gave me a voice to speak about my values and the issues that are important to me in my country, and made me a leader that doesn't just take, but also gives back to the community. It also connected me to powerful individuals from all around the world. I always say this, Women2Women is about a lot of things. It's about hope, change, inspiration, culture, support, being a family, and most importantly, it's also about a network, a global bond so instructions make a fight 10 times better. And to be able to have international network of strong female leaders that have my back, and we're able to fight for the same issues from different parts of the world. This unity increases the impact we have on changing the world on a bigger scale, and it's nothing like something I've experienced before. Today, I'm very blessed to have friends from all over the world, and we're still connected and we work together on different things. That's just a very small glimpse of the impact Women2Women had on me. Now today, through the session, you will hear from great women in position of leadership in Bahrain. And I wanted to leave you with a note and urge you, the future leaders of Bahrain, to want to be in positions of power and break the stigma around women not being able to lead. Because it's not that we can't or we're not capable of leading in positions of power. We're just being underestimated as females, that we can't handle it, or we're led by our emotions, or so many different reasons that doesn't make sense. But many have already proven that wrong with the strength they showed in leading in the country and also globally. Nothing should be stopping us. Push for it. The more you're out there, the more we push for it, the more we'll get there, improve ourselves and our capabilities. Let the passion and drive lead you. We're very blessed to be in a country where it's open to women being in positions of leadership, so take advantage of that. Now, finally, I'd urge you to make the best out of this. This is a very small thing, but it's also very impactful still. I hope one day you get on to the full experience of experiencing it in the US. And lastly, I wanted to thank Trisha and Rick for always opening the door to great opportunities, as well as the US Embassy and the Ministry of Youth and Sports for this initiative. And now I pass it to Peppa to introduce us to the next speaker. Make the best out of this.
Thank you, Kat. That was really inspiring. It's my pleasure to introduce you all to another amazing woman, Karin Ehlert. She is the Public Affairs Officer at the US Embassy, Bahrain. Karin has held previous assignments in Amman, Jordan, Johannesburg, South Africa, Kabul, Afghanistan, and Washington, DC. Before joining the US Foreign Service, she worked for the Office of Justice in Minnesota as the Director of Legislative Affairs and in the Office of Crime Victim Services as the Director of Communications. During this time, she also served as an adjunct professor at the Metropolitan State University, teaching in the criminal justice program, specializing in victimology and media in the criminal justice system. Throughout her career, Karin has focused on social justice and the advancement of opportunity, education, and protection under the law for women and girls. Over to you, Karin.
Thank you so much, Pippa. Wow, I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm just thrilled to see so many amazing young women participating in the W2W Leadership Program, and excited that we can actually connect virtually to still discuss this important topic of leadership and women. Female leadership is vital to the well-being and success of a community, and over the next 2 weeks, you are all going to take part in a workshop that will provide you with the knowledge and skills to empower you to be a leader. Today, you will learn about women in government and how you can become a leader and a change agent. I am honored and so pleased we have such inspiring and accomplished women joining us today to share with you their experience and knowledge. Without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Fatima, to get this afternoon's panel started. Enjoy.
Thank you, Karin. Good evening, everyone. My name is Fatima Albastaki, and I am a credit card brand manager, bilingual TV presenter on Bahrain TV. First of all, I'm really honored and excited to be part of the Women2Women Bahrain. I'm proud to see that despite all the circumstances, we are here to learn, to share, and to change the world. Whether it be an elected position, a policy advisor, or staff member, women play a critical role in shaping government and policies around the world. We will kickstart this amazing session with two phenomenal women who are actively involved in government and working to ensure that women are represented at every level. Please join me to welcome both Shaikha Buti, Muharraq Youth Model Center Director, Ministry of Youth and Sports, and Maggie, Nardi, Chargé d'Affaires, US Embassy in Manama, Bahrain. Hello and welcome.
Hello, Fatima and Maggie.
How are you both this evening?
We are doing well.
Great. So I know this is new to us. We're doing this session, online and virtual.
Yes.
So I would like for the young leaders to first get to know you, Shaikha, if you'd like to start and tell us more about you. I'm sure they're excited to hear.
Thank you, Fatima. First of all, hello, everybody. Hello, Maggie. Nice to meet you virtually. And inshallah, we hope we can meet one day in the normal life. So first of all, Fatima, I would like to thank you for having me today in Women2Women conference. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the organizers, starting from Ministry of Youth and Sport in Bahrain, US Embassy, and Empower Peace for the important conference and for inviting me to attend this conference. Actually, I'm working in the Ministry of Youth and Sport since 2016. I'm the current manager of Muharraq Model Youth Center. I have many contribution and voluntary and youth activity inside and outside Bahrain. I lead many delegation outside Bahrain. I'm really interested in different topics, especially any topic related to women, youth, event. So it's really fulfilling my passion.
That's great, Shaikha. And we're going to learn more about you throughout this session. Miss Maggie, Chargé d'Affaires. Did I pronounce that right?
Very good. Thank you, Fatima. And hello, Shaikha, Buti. It's a pleasure to join you on this panel. And I also want to thank Rick and Tricia and Empower Peace for bringing this program to Bahrain. As we can see from Kat, who spoke earlier, it's already had a very positive impact. And I can tell you that when I joined the US Department of State 26 years ago, so you all are much younger than I am, this was exactly the kind of program that I wanted to participate in. Programs where we would connect with other cultures, but also help to support, nurture, and shape future leaders. And in fact, in some cases, if we are really lucky, we can see them years later when they have reached a higher level, whether it's in business or government. And that is a really good feeling to know that we had some very small role in that. So Chargé d'Affaires is my current title, which is a fancy term for acting ambassador, a position I have held for 1.5 weeks. So it's very new. I arrived in Bahrain 1 year ago to serve as Deputy Chief of Mission, which is a very long way of saying assistant ambassador or deputy. My focus in that job is internal to the embassy, personnel, budget, those kinds of things, whereas the ambassador is the face of the embassy. He's outward leaning. So now as Chargé, I get to experience some of that. Before that, I was in Al-Quds. I was in Jerusalem working with the Palestinian Security Forces for 3 years. And before that, I was the Deputy Chief of Mission in our embassy in Zagreb, Croatia. I've also worked in Poland, El Salvador, and Turkey, and covered in 26 years a range of issues, including significant work on law enforcement training and counterterrorism. So that's about it for me. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Yes, of course, that is amazing. And I'm going to come to that part of, moving between these different jobs and titles, because I'm sure that each one of them had, their needs, and you needed to have a certain, personality for them. Starting with Shaikha, when choosing your career path, you always think about the benefits as a young leader. And I wanted to know, what are the benefits of working in government?
Yes, Fatima. Actually, it's a really interesting question that I would like to share my thought with the young leaders we have today. Before going to know more about the benefit of working in government, first we have to define what do we mean by government? What do we mean by public sector? We have to clarify it for our young leaders, so then we can go a step ahead to know more about its benefit. So all the organizations that provide services, provide any benefit for the public, for the citizens, it's called a government or a public entities. So these entities are rolled and reported all to the government sector. So here we are. If we are interested to work in any entities toward making the citizens more happy, satisfied. For example, if we will take hospitals, road, education, policies, social services, all of these is classified as government services. But to make sure, some people still have a stereotype about the government, that the government, they don't do like high quality services. They think when they will enter like one of the building, it's like an old building with old people, they are still drinking coffee and reading a newspaper. It's not anymore. Now we have a new generation who joined the government sector, and we are here to represent and talk about our experience in this field. Especially we have, sorry?
I absolutely agree with you. You can see the initiatives that are being done, by different ministries. I'm talking about the Kingdom of Bahrain here.
Yes.
You can see the generation that's coming to light, and they're trying to be involved both with the private sector as well, and the other, students and everyone from the society and the community.
Yes. So ministries or the government role is to make the policy, to have a high standard of a quality service. It is not just to provide the service. So who are interested to work in this field, they are most welcome to join the government. Some people, they classify the benefit as a financial side or something that we can measure, like the retirement benefit, the holidays, the leaves, the income that they will get, the time that they spend in this work. But it is not like that. I don't even measure it like that. I usually measure spending my time, my hours. We are spending our life in that career. So it's all about your passion, how much you can give in this career. If you are really interested and you can link your goals to this specific career and to a bigger vision, then you can join this career. So it's, like depend on your personality to classify the benefits.
Absolutely. Would you like to add on that, Ms. Maggie?
Sure. I think Shaikha Buti sort of characterized things very well. I worked in the private sector, so in business, before I started with the State Department. And I will have to admit, now, obviously this was 26 years ago, I was a little shocked when I joined the government at the level of administration involved, at the level of paperwork, at the number of people who had to approve a document and things like that. I still think, certainly in the US system, that that could be improved for sure.
Yes.
But as the Shaikha said, there are opportunities to work in every aspect of government, whether your passion is education or whether it's healthcare or whether it's finance. There are opportunities in every single area. And if you are inside of the government, then you are helping to shape the policy. And if there are things that as a citizen you have been frustrated with, then by joining the government, you can help to be a part of the change process, to try to improve things. And I think having younger people and sort of new blood, as we would say, come in with new ideas and new ways of thinking is very important to keep a government dynamic and to keep it forward looking and not to be the last one to try something new, the last one to get new technology, which certainly in the US case is still sometimes what we see.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with both of you. And you can go ahead, Shaikha.
Yes, if I can add, Fatima, at this point, most of us, like we have noticed during the COVID, like going through the COVID-19 situation, we have many e-services that most of the entities in the government, they transfer it from a paperwork to electronic service. I think it's more than like 500 services, all operated by e-government. So, like this one will not happen if we will not have a new generation in the government. So
Yes,
this is
I
one
agree.
of, yes, so this is one of, like benefit of having new blood, as Maggie, she mentioned. We need new leaders. We need young leaders to join the public sector. So without them, we will not have this change that we would like to have.
Awesome.
Bahrain is a model. Bahrain is a role model in changing the government. I'm working in government like around 11 years now, and I saw how the government is changing very rapidly. So I'm really proud as a woman, like to have my touch in this field.
That's great. That's going to actually take me for the second question I have. But before that, I want to remind all the young leaders, feel free to write your questions in the little box. You can see it below. And I'm going to get these questions. And at the end of the session, we're going to take around 10 minutes to answer your questions and make sure that you get, the best out of this conversation. So now we've talked about the benefits in being in government when it comes to, we're talking about 2 different countries. So it's nice to see how the experience is when it comes to working in the government. But why is it important, Maggie, for women to be involved in government in particular?
Well, women make up half of the population. Women who work also tend to have to take care of the home and the family. So women, in my personal opinion, are more in tune to issues of childcare, issues of education, issues of healthcare, things that impact the broader family. And those are things that they can bring into government. I would also say that there are studies that have proven that in countries where women are leaders, there tends to be more peace and stability. The US State Department has for a number of years sponsored something called Vital Voices in Africa, because it has been determined that women are the starters, they're the entrepreneurs in Africa. They're the ones that protect the resources, that protect the money, that grow the money. And so supporting their businesses is important. And if I can just speak to COVID, to the virus, in April, the New York Times and Forbes magazine both wrote articles about 7 countries where women are leaders, noting that these were countries that seem to have gotten the virus under control faster than anyone else. And one was Germany, New Zealand, Taiwan, and then Finland, I think Finland, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland all had female leaders. And what did they have in common? The factors were, they were all very decisive. They made decisions quickly. They communicated very openly to the population. Angela Merkel told the people of Germany that she expected 70% of them were going to get the virus, and they needed to take steps right away. Jacinda Ardern, who is the Prime Minister of New Zealand, locked the country down right away and forbid foreigners from entering immediately. They all communicated openly, and they took decisive action, but they demonstrated empathy towards their citizenry as well. And there's a separate study that says the death rate in these countries has also been lower because of all these actions that they took. So, to people who say, oh, women are too emotional, or, they're not capable, there are already so many very good examples of women in positions of leadership who are contributing quite a bit, including here in Bahrain. There are women leaders in the highest levels of government and business, which is a real testament to the country.
Mm-hmm. I have dedicated a whole question about the emotional status of a woman. We're going to come to that later because it seems that it's a very common question, or let's say a statement that most people use, to just separate men and women. But I absolutely don't believe in that. We're going to come for that later. Shaikha, what do you think? Why is it important for women to be involved in the government? Because a lot of girls think sometimes that it's a job for men. I don't want to do it. It's hard, to compete with men. What do you have to say about that?
Actually, as a Bahraini woman, I'm really proud to say that in Bahrain, we have a very clear framework that supports women in also private and public sector. We have something called, it's an opportunity equity framework, which is launched and developed by the Supreme Council for Women. This framework is to support, to provide a very helpful and supportive atmosphere for the woman to work very freely, to be supported, and even to see what is her worries and concern. So, like to have a very supportive system and infrastructure, it will really, like boost me and, like it will encourage me to give more. So, and my point of view, I mean, as a Bahraini woman, I think Bahraini women and ladies, they have proven themselves. They won international prizes, and like if it is not, like in work or the career side, even at homes, when we go back to our history in Bahrain, women have supported their husband, their brother, since, like many years. And even when I go to my mother, if she's not, like a worker, but at the same time, she raised 5 kids who she is really now proud of them, that we took, like a leading position in Bahrain. So this is make me really proud and give me a push to continue. And, like I hate to say that to compete with men, because I think we are completing each other. So, but at the end, we have this sense of competing, to be frank, with the other side. And I think we have proven that nothing is impossible. We can do it in all levels.
I mean, you're absolutely right. And a healthy competition in every field is very important, to push forward and bring in new initiatives and new ideas. But I do also wonder, Ms. Maggie, you mentioned that you started in the private sector and then you moved on to work in the government sector. Did you always know that you wanted to be part of the government, or did it just happen? How did it happen?
No, I definitely did not know I wanted to work in government. In fact, I probably would have told you I never wanted to work in government back then. It was an evolution. And I will try to make this quick. But when I went to university, I wanted to be a journalist. So I went to the University of Missouri, which is known for its journalism school. And in fact, the Crown Prince's, the person who runs the Crown Prince Educational Scholarship Program is also a graduate of the University of Missouri journalism program, and she's here in Bahrain. Anyway, I realized quickly I didn't want to do journalism because I would be stuck in some small town writing about the bear that escaped down the street or something really ridiculous before I could go to a big market. I wanted to be in a big city and I wanted to earn money, so I switched to business and I got a marketing degree. And I got a job right away working for Procter & Gamble, which is a multinational company. They make Tide. They also make potato chips, very strange things. I hated it. I was in sales, absolutely hated it. I lasted 1 year. But I had this marketing degree, so what else can I do? So then I said advertising. I'd love to be in advertising. I love ads. I got a job in advertising. And I worked with General Mills, which makes Cheerios and Honey Nut Cheerios and Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which you may have heard of because it's definitely here. And I really enjoyed that at first because it's very young, very hip, lots of creative people. I was on the business side, but the environment was very high energy. And then one day I went to Los Angeles for a commercial. We were making a commercial on a cereal called Crispy Wheats and Raisins. And I remember walking into the big studio and seeing a table lined up, a long table full of boxes of cereal people were dumping out. And women with white gloves on and little glasses were picking up each cereal flake and examining it because they had to pick the perfect cereal flakes to put in the bowl for what's called the beauty shot, the picture of the perfect bowl of cereal. Hours and hours of work picking out cereal flakes to glue into a bowl. And that's when I said, no, I have to do something more important. So I didn't know what to do. So I took a trip. I went to volunteer. I went to Guatemala to work in a village building a community center with a group of people. And we worked with Guatemalans. And I loved the experience. It was amazing. And so then I started working for them. So then I was leading trips to Indonesia and Jamaica and Russia and Poland. But I wasn't earning a lot of money. And I was reaching the point where I had to have health insurance and a salary and a pension and things like that. And then somebody suggested the US Department of State, which I had never thought of. But in fact, it's really the same idea. I get to live in all of these different cultures, meet amazing people like you all, get to work on programs like this where I'm working hand in hand with local cultures. It's really like a dream job. So I count myself very lucky, but it was a total accident. But I think the main point of this for me is that you don't have to know what you want to do right away. It's really, I did not know, and I imagine a lot of people don't, and that's okay. You gain some experience, you learn from that, and you move on and you do something else. And I believe that I gained something from every single one of those jobs that has helped me today. And in fact, what I'm really doing right now is marketing the United States. I mean, it's really a different level of marketing. And so I would just encourage people to be willing to fail, or to be willing to say, you know, I tried this, it's not for me, and not feel bad about it. I think that that's really important, to just keep trying, because you never know when you'll find the thing that's just right for you.
Absolutely, I must agree with you, and I've had similar experience, not like positions like yours, of course, but in the first year after graduation, I did not know what I wanted to do. So I moved from one job to another, and everyone, the first year, everyone was like, what are you doing? That's gonna look bad on your CV. I was like, I still did not find what I wanted to do, until, you know, I hit that road where I found myself in both, you know, being in marketing and communications and being on TV. So you always need to try new things to make sure that you're on the right path. You don't want to spend, you know, 60, 70 years in a field that you don't feel it's not you. That's a very inspiring story. In fact, I'm going to come back to some of these jobs you've had in a bit, but Shaikha, I want to know, what are the greatest challenges that you've faced as a woman in your career and you've successfully overcame?
If we will talk about the challenges, you know, like in every position, in every level, there is different challenges that we might face. Let's say if we will take in my current position, there are challenges. We cannot say we never face any challenges, because for sure there are some problem issues that we will face for sure. Some of the challenges that I face in my current position, before, as I mentioned, that I were working in a private sector and banking sector, so I was dealing directly to, you know, like adults, and then I shift to another job. It was a government institute, and we were dealing with, you know, like civil servants. So me, you know, like for more than 9 years, I was totally dealing with adults. But because I have the passion for the activities with the youth and talented people. So when I decided to shift to the Ministry of Youth and Sport, here it was a little bit challenging that I have to deal with a different target group.
Yeah.
Yes, it's, you know, like from 9 years up to, you know, like in the 20s and 30. And their, you know, like concerns, their problem, it's totally different than training side and the banking side. So I have to shift, you know, like all my thinking, all my experience that I have in this 9 years to something new, and to improve it in a way that match the new area that I'm working in. This is one of the challenges, but, you know, like I overcome this challenge because I have a good experience from the training sector that I worked in. I hate to say that we are, you know, like one of the most challenges for the leader is the financial side. When, you know, like your boss, he told you, you have to work with the budgets that you have. I will not allocate any more budget. So you have to think about, you know, like other sources of how to finance the program. You know, like one of the challenges, I'm dealing with different target group, you know, like at the same time, I'm dealing with youth, kids and their parent, a trainer. So, you know, like it's you know, like it's not difficult, but you have to change your personality and the way you are talking to all these people at the same time. So, you know, like it differs, but we are learning from, you know, like level to another level, from position to position. I think this is an added value to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you. And being creative and being resourceful is one of the qualities of a leader, on how you can manage your projects and manage your goals with what you have on spot. Ms. Maggie, I'm going to rephrase the question that I asked Shaikha, because some of the jobs in the government means that you need to travel abroad, live with different cultures for a while, learn from these different cultures. So being a female and US citizen working in other countries, did you face any challenges, and what did you get out of that?
One thing that I really have to thank the State Department for is that they never questioned the choices that I made. So when I wanted to work in Turkey as the deputy in the political military section, which was at the time, was 2004 to 2007, so it was before President Erdogan. It was a very different time. The military was quite strong there then. So I was dealing with 4-star generals and all of the military. And I was really nervous that the State Department would not want me to do that job, but they let me have the job. And then I was worried that the Turks would not accept me in that job as a woman because it's not traditional. But I give them great credit. I think the feeling was, if the US government decided she can do the job, then we will respect that and we will work with her. And it was never an issue. To be honest, the most difficulty I had was with a US military general when I was in Jerusalem working with the Palestinian security forces. This 3-star US general was supposed to be my partner. But because I don't have 3 stars on my shoulder, he did not consider me his equal. And because I'm a woman, I think he thought that he could break me or he could make me work for him. And so he lobbied to have my position reduced and have me made his deputy. So I was very kind to him and very, nice on the front, and I never said any word, but behind the scenes, I was working every angle I could with every person all the way up the chain in the State Department.
You knew what was you knew what was happening.
And he failed. So yes. I won. It was very stressful, I will admit, but he did not succeed. So there can be challenges. I was actually, not that it's my job to ask questions, but I was going to ask Shaikha if being a woman in the Ministry of Sports and Youth is difficult at all, if the trainers will work with you, if you feel that they treat you the way that you should be treated in that position. Sorry, Fatima.
No, it's a great question. I want to answer instead of Shaikha, because I know that the Ministry of Youth is a great example when it comes to giving opportunity for both women and men. And Bahrain is also, sorry, Shaikha, so we're turning roles now. Bahrain is a role model when it comes to having women in sports and doing initiatives. Go ahead, Shaikha, you may answer that.
Yes. Actually, when they handed over Muharraq Model Youth Center to me, I was the first woman who took this position as a manager of a youth center. So when people, start to coming, they were asking, where is the manager? They thought that they will meet a man, not a lady.
Yeah.
So, when I went down to meet the people, they were shocked. How come a lady or a woman will be handing, that big center with, different services, especially we have, we have people from different levels. And, the people who are usually come to this center mostly are men than ladies. So they wanted to communicate or to contact a man for, solving their problems. So, when they saw a small lady, a young lady talking to them, they were shocked. But, from my experience and what I have learned, I start using these touches, these strategies in dealing with people, and it went very smooth, even with the trainer, with the people. And I never been sorry, to take that type of position because, it's building my personality and it's making me very strong. And as Maggie said, some people, they are sometimes working in behind of you. So we have to be very careful as ladies or women of what's going on as a woman, because sometimes they feel like women are weak, but actually we are not. A woman can handle, you know, like the house with her kids, husband, brother, a big family. So, you know, like when it comes to the work side, it's, I don't want to say it's a piece of cake, but you know, like we are a multitask.
You can't do
We are a multitask. You know, like we have the, you know, like this sense. So I think Maggie, she agree with me. We can do it very easily. And you are, Fatima, you are one of the role models in Bahrain, Fatima. You are working in a private sector, but at the same time, you are a media and TV representative.
Thank you, Shaikha. And I mean, I've learned a lot from you ladies, and I wish that we could extend this session for another 3 hours, because the amount of information and motivation that I'm receiving from both of you is amazing. And I'm sure the young leaders agree with me. I've learned to say yes to opportunities, be the first. It's fine to be the first woman when it comes to different roles in the government. Go ahead and take the challenge. Try. Do not give up. These are so many, you know, this is an important message. But before I move on to the Q&A, because we've got some questions from the young leaders, I do want to, you know, hear an advice that you'd like to give for the young leaders, starting with Ms. Maggie.
I think it's just a continuation of everything we've said. I mean, there will be people who would tell you, don't try something, you can't do it. Don't listen to anybody. I mean, really, everything that I did, to be honest, somebody told me I could not do it. There was always at least one person, if not more. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to be willing to fail also. And if you fail, that's okay. Then you pick yourself up and you try something else, and that's all right. But I would say listen to your own voice and be true to what is valuable for you. Don't do something just because others think that this is the right thing or the cool thing or the latest thing to do. Do what you think is right for you and what will make you happy and be consistent with your values.
Absolutely. Shaikha?
From my side, if you will give me the opportunity, I will talk for another 1 hour, Fatima. You should control me.
I'll give you a sign.
My advice to our young leaders, be yourself, enjoy the life. We are here in this world to enjoy the life to the maximum. Try whatever new, take the opportunity, never say no. Have a coach, someone wisdom in your life who can advise you. Even me at that age, still I refer to someone who can advise me and take his advices. Learn from your mistake, be creative, always think out of the box. Don't solve the problems or the obstacles you face as the normal people. Think how you can turn this obstacle to an opportunity that you can have it for your future. Be healthy.
Great.
Take care of yourself. This is very important so you can achieve your goals.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Shaikha, especially the part where it's about expanding your network. So try as much as you can to expand your network and, you know, meet other people so you can learn from their experiences. I've got a set of questions, honestly, and we're going to rotate between Shaikha and Ms. Maggie, and feel free to comment, but we'll try to answer them, you know, as briefly as possible so we can cover them all. We've got Malak who's asking, how do I know that a job is the one? Miss Maggie, how can she tell that this job is the right job?
Well, clearly I did not know initially, so I'm not sure. Maybe Shaikha is better to say this. I think you just know. I realized, you know, it took me 3 different jobs before I joined the State Department, and once I was in, I just knew.
It just feels good. You get a good feeling out of it. You wake up in the morning excited to go to work. It doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like part of your life.
Right.
Would you like to add on that, Shaikha?
Feel at home.
Yep.
Maggie, actually, from what you have said, I really learned a lot of about how you achieved your goals and what you wanted to have in your life as a career path. From my side, Fatima, Actually, until 2008, I didn't know what I want. I really were involved in youth activities, voluntary work, but until 2008, I was lost. I was working in the private sector, but still I feel that there is something missing inside me. In 2008, I participated in international youth program. It was in Japan. In the middle of the ocean in a ship, I attended a volunteer program, and they were asking us, can we turn our passion to a career life? So I started asking myself this question and repeating it again. And when I came back to Bahrain, here I started doing my research. Do I want to continue in the private sector or no? It's the time to turn my passion to something that I love. And here, yes. And here it goes the question to our young ladies and to Malak especially. She should ask herself, do I want to turn my passion to something that it will be my career for the whole life? Or no, I wanted to keep my passion as a side activity that I can enjoy it when I will get stressed by life, I will get stressed by day-to-day work, then I will get something like to relieve myself in something that I enjoy it. So there are many questions that Malak should ask herself. Then she should do her own homework by doing research, taking some advice, and then if she feels that she can turn her passion and what she likes to a work, then she should work very, very hard in her passion and support it by taking many courses, advices to have very clear vision for her career path.
Absolutely, I agree with you. You know, finding the right path and the right career might take time, but never stop trying.
Yes.
So we've got another question is, Arwa says, thank you for your advice. She enjoyed the session. And another attendee says, thank you for this inspirational experience. Is it possible for you to share with us your Instagram handles so that we can keep in contact? You three are role models to us. So maybe we can provide any contact email later with the young leaders who would like to, you know, reach out to you as, you know, their inspiration. Huda's asking, what is something you wish you knew as a young woman? I think this is a very, very interesting question.
I
Can
think,
you just
go ahead.
No, Maggie, you can go ahead.
I think for me, having some kind of a plan, some kind of idea, since I had none, and it all worked out fine, but having some sort of time frame, maybe when you want to achieve things, if you are looking to also have a family or do other things. So women in my generation would think about, they were trying to start their career and get it going very well before they had a family, but sometimes it was too late and they weren't able to do both. And trying to make everything perfectly timed is really impossible. So while I say you should have a plan in mind, it also has to be flexible. But then for those of us who did have families in the State Department, we would pick jobs that were family friendly if we had young kids, jobs where we didn't have to travel or where the hours weren't as long, that kind of thing. So whatever you do, just sort of think about what is important to you at each step along the way.
Absolutely. Would you like to add on that, Shaikha?
It's the same thought, Fatima.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So we've got, I think, a great question, which says, we talk a lot about success. What about failures? Can you tell us about a time in which you failed, and what did you do? What did you learn from your failure? If you can start, Shaikha.
What I learned from my failure. Actually, we do fail, and we do learn from these failures. the important about, like facing these failures or obstacles, a problem in our life, it should make us stronger, believing in ourselves, not breaking our confidence. So this is very important to us to know that it is just, like the break, or, like the steps that it will take us to a higher steps. So never underestimate yourself. If we will face any challenges in your life, just learn from it, be calm, and you will get out of it. I don't remember any failure for the time now, but I do went through many failure, but truly I learned a lot from it.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Shaikha. Success is not a straight line. I mean, it has ups and downs, and it's about composed from, small journeys that lead to the bigger picture or your ultimate goal. What do you think about that, Miss Maggie?
I'm sure I have even more failures than the ones I can remember. But I'm thinking when I was in advertising, it was at a time when most people had graduate degrees in advertising and had gone to certain schools to get them. I didn't have any of that, and I got this job. I was so excited, so excited. And my boss was a woman. I thought I was doing really well. I had not had any negative reviews or anything. And then after the 1-year anniversary there, she gave me a review that was so bad, I couldn't frankly even believe it, because she had never said anything to me. There had been no counseling session. There had been no complaints. I didn't even know where it came from, but clearly she didn't like me for some reason. And I thought I would be fired. And so I took it, or I had a session because of that with her boss. And he sat down and he looked at all the things she had written about me, and he asked me about each one and asked what my view was of how well I had done on these different tasks and projects. And I gave him my perspective. So he said he would give me a project to do to work directly with him. And depending on how I did on that project, then either I would stay or I would not stay. So I did that project, and in the end, I stayed and she was fired. So it was a failure of mine, because clearly there was an issue I had with her which I didn't know about. But the way she handled it made it her failure in the end. And so I guess I was horrified, I was embarrassed, I felt terrible, but I was really happy that I stuck with it and that somebody else gave me a chance. So I think, as Shaikha said, every failure you can learn something from, and then you take that to improve yourself and move on, and don't let it bring you down too much.
Absolutely. I mean, the Q&A is apparently a very popular, segment in our session today. We've got a lot of questions, so I'm going to be asking 2 or 3 more questions before we wrap up the session. Shaikha, I'm sure every leader needs a support system, of course, whether it be friends, family, or even pets sometimes. They are your support system at the end of the day. So how important is it, I'm sure you had that kind of support. How important is it to have that support from family and friends?
Actually, yes, as a woman, we need a support system from our families and friends, or even the people, like the people they are around us, even your team. So it's very important, like to have a family who's supporting you, especially in my case. Like I'm working for long hours, sometimes even until 10, 11, because it's like a youth center. We have people until 10, 11, sometimes even until 12. So my family, they totally understand my situation. They are supporting me. So sometimes, like I have some responsibility at the end of the day at home. So my sister, they supported me by, like I have to delegate some of my responsibility to them. And here it comes how I can balance between, like my responsibility at work and home. And especially, like even my close friend, always I refer to them, I take their advice, I discuss, like the general, like issues that I could face at my work and how they can solve it. Even from their opinion, maybe I can get, like a different solution to the issue or my concern in the work. Yes.
Absolutely. I agree. Having a healthy, positive support system is, very essential in a leader's life. Miss Maggie, I do have a question from Yusr who says, what would you say to a person limiting your capabilities for being a woman?
I would say that you need to be more clever than that person and find a way to work around them. So you need to find others in the system, wherever it is that you are, at school or at work, who will support you, other mentors who can help you, and make sure that you have opportunities to demonstrate your skills and your abilities so that this individual cannot stop you from moving on to the next level or achieving what you want. There's always more than one person out there that's watching what you're doing. And so find somebody or other people who can help you.
Absolutely. So my last question would be from Ragad, who says, when you face challenges as a female leader, what encourages you to move on? You want to answer, Shaikha?
When I face challenges, what? Can you just...
When you face a challenge as a female leader, what encourages you to move on?
What encouraged me to move on is my passion, as my goals, because I always link what I have inside me as a Shaikha, as a woman, as a Bahraini, to a bigger vision of Bahrain. That I'm not working to, like someone, I'm working to my country. I have to achieve my goals. So it will never it will never let me feel failed, even if these challenges are big, but I have to overcome, because always I keep in front of myself that Shaikha, you have a bigger vision that you wanted to achieve. And it's, it's a responsibility more than, a prestigious position that I'm taking.
Absolutely. I agree to that. And, of course, I would love to extend the session even more. I really enjoyed this, but I do need to conclude. So this question would conclude our first session of the Women2Women Bahrain. Thank you both, Shaikha and Maggie, for joining us. And thanks to all the young leaders for their attention and great questions. As you know, this is the first of 5 sessions. Please be sure to check your email for information about your next session, The Leader in You, taking place on Monday, July 27th at 4 p.m. with Mason West. I hear that Mason is a Women2Women favorite, so you don't want to miss that. And of course, I will be back on Tuesday, July 28th, moderating the Women in Leadership program. Goodbye, everyone. I will see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.